Alrighty, everybody. What's going on, guys? What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back here to another stream, my friends. Hope everyone's doing well. It is good to see you guys here. We're going to do a little bit of an evening update. We got some new info for y'all. Got some new forecasts out. We got some new model guidance. All kinds of new information. Even a new system now we got to look out for. So, got a whole bunch of new info for y'all. But what's up, guys? Welcome. Let's see. We have Mark here today. I don't know if Mark is here right now, but good to see you, Mark. I know haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing good, man. We got Misty. What's up, Misty? Good to see you, too. What's up, Calvin? Saying good evening, Andrew. Good evening to you as well. What's up, Cheryl? Saying hello, everyone. What's happening? So we got a tropical system we're watching. It's supposed to be a Category 3 later on. So it is kind of the main topic of today's stream. It's probably going to be the main topic for the next while until it pretty much dissipates. So anyways, folks, it's good to see y'all. Hope everyone's doing good. So right now, we are watching it, the current storm. If you guys do not know, if you're new to this, this storm is called Erin. Here, let me go ahead and bring up the main development region here. We're going to look at the satellite view. It's looking a little bit better. Earlier today, when we did our morning update, it really wasn't looking so hot. It was kind of struggling. You know, it's running into a little bit of cooler air and stuff, which wasn't really liking that too much, but you know what though? It looks a little bit better today, or a little bit better, I should say now, versus earlier. We got a little bit of convection going on here, and you know, really, the system's not going to do a whole lot over the next few days. We are just going to remain a tropical storm. You know, some gradual development is possible. You know, some slow development is possible over the next few days, but it's really not going to do a whole lot for the next couple of days because, you know, we're just kind of sitting over some pretty cold waters out here. Let me show y'all. Let's bring up the North Atlantic here. I'm going to bring this over here to y'all. Yeah. So the waters are pretty cold right now where the storm is at. So the storm is just to the west of the Cabo Verde. Pretty good distance. I mean, this thing has traveled pretty far to the west here, in which we're now kind of approaching those waters where it's like 26 degrees Celsius. So it's definitely getting a little bit, warmer, the environment in which the storm is rolling over. So things should start picking up here in terms of strengthening. Now, this thing is expected to become a hurricane here on the 15th, which would be here for Friday. It was actually supposed to be Thursday. They did push it a little bit further out. But we are expected to see the system become a hurricane by either late Thursday or early Friday. So we're just going to have to see what happens there. But eventually, you know, the system does work its way further northwest. We actually got some of the... they removed Puerto Rico out of the cone of uncertainty. I believe these are the Virgin Islands out here. Just, you know, north of the main Antilles here. We do got a few little islands here that we got to look out for as they are still in the cone. And you can actually see here by the end of the forecast cone here for the afternoon of the 17th, which that would be on Sunday. So by Sunday afternoon, system's expected to strengthen into a major hurricane, being Category 3 or greater. So, what's up, Misty? Good to see ya. What's up, moderates? Hope you're doing good. Calvin says, I was surprised that computer models did not pick up the tropical wave in the Northwest Caribbean. So, I've been noticing a lot of deep convection going on out here. You can really see it here, you know, in the Southern Caribbean popping through. This is... as it works westward, it actually has a little bit of a chance now of becoming a tropical depression. It likely won't be a full-blown storm or anything like that, you know, given it doesn't have much time. But, yeah, I mean, the Hurricane Center, they did add a disturbance on it, in which we do have an overall 20% chance of formation in the next 7 days. So, yeah, it's pretty unlikely it'll do anything, but definitely is convecting pretty heavily there. If you zoom in, you can kind of see maybe a little bit of circulation going on out there. So, I mean, it's mostly disorganized right now, but there could be some limited, you know, activity on that system further down in time. But it's really not too much of a concern, really. Anyways, what's up, Polly? Good to see ya. What's up? Let's see, Dotch. Is that how you say your name? What's up, dude? Good to see ya. Let's see here. What's up, Justin? See, that's on the models now. What, that, oh, this guy? This system that we're watching? Yeah, we're going to get in the models, and we'll look at it here in a few moments. But anyways, but like I was saying, though, y'all, system is expected to become a Category 3 or a major hurricane here on the afternoon of Sunday, in which, that'll be after it kind of passes just north of Puerto Rico. So the latest model guidance, which we'll go ahead and pull up now, we'll go ahead and show you guys the spaghetti models and stuff. Let me go ahead and do that now. So the latest spaghetti model run, this is the O0 UTC, the 00 Zulu run, in which you can see that towards the end of the model run, or these model runs here, you can see that we are expecting the potential for the system to start pulling up north. Now, at this point in time, it does seem more possible that this system will probably kind of work its way further out into the waters, making, some of the areas in the U.S. a little bit less likely to get hit. Still can't rule it out completely. Right now there's nothing to worry about. All we got to do is just monitor it. But it does kind of curve, in which this could be a problem for areas out by Bermuda. There still is a lot of time for things to change and stuff because it's at the end of the runs, but you see that little speck out there? That's Bermuda. Bermuda could have a little bit of issues with this system here. So Bermuda definitely needs you folks out there to be monitoring this closely. Also out there by the Virgin Islands and just north of Puerto Rico, definitely should also kind of monitor those areas too. So we'll definitely be watching it. Yeah, like I said, Bermuda, we probably should keep an eye out there for those regions out there. Let's see, it's beginning to get active. It sure is, isn't it? Absolutely. Let's see here. Tropical storm Erin does got a whole lot of dry air, and SAL is heading. Well, let me go and bring up the models here for you guys. Actually, I wanted to pull those up for y'all. So let's go ahead and take a peek at the models here. We're gonna pull up the GFS here to start things off. Let's hop to the North Atlantic. But yeah, I want to look at the amount of moisture here. We'll look at the moisture content in this system. Actually, let's do HWRF since that's now available. So, there is enough moisture, but yeah, it's not, a super, super heavily, filled environment of moisture. I mean, it has enough to do, gradual strengthening, but the main part is that it was just kind of over the cooler waters, which really didn't have it doing a whole lot of rapid strengthening or whatnot. So this is the latest HWRF model here, and as we work our way down in time, you can see the system gradually strengthens here. At this point in time, we are here for the evening of the 15th. And you can see by this time, according to the HWRF, we wrap in a pretty good amount of moisture here. Not a whole lot of dry air. I mean, we got some, little spots of drier air. Sorry, there was a problem accessing that data. but yeah, you can see that we do have, a pretty good amount of moisture still. And that doesn't really seem to be a problem. Going through the 16th, 17th, going into... kind of cuts out there, but yeah, going into the 18th, it looks like there could be a little bit of drier air to the west of the system, but still, plenty enough moisture for the system overall. But yeah, the HWRF has this thing just kind of going north of the Antilles. I think those are the Virgin Islands over there. So, we're just gonna have to keep an eye on it. This thing will likely really pick up in intensity once we kind of approach our way out here because, like I mentioned, we have a lot of moisture. We have little to no wind shear either, really being a concern. And we also do have a lot of really warm waters out here, in which I don't think this model really shows that. Let's go to HAFSA. Actually, we'll go parent here, so I can kind of show you the sea surface temperatures. So, the position of which the storm is now is starting to roll into some of those warmer waters, and it's only going to get warmer as we continue working westward. You can see, especially as we get out there by the Antilles or near the Antilles, the waters out here are actually pretty darn warm. In which this is where we really could start to see that strengthening really start to take place here overall. Looking at the wind shear too, it doesn't really seem like there's going to be a whole lot of wind shear. I mean, we've got a little bit of a jet to the north here, but a lot of that's outflow. That clockwise outflow that we do have, on top of the system in the upper levels here. So, but other than that, it doesn't really seem like wind shear is going to be much of an issue. I mean, you can see that jet that we do have north of the system. But, the location of the system itself does not really look like wind shear is going to have too much of an effect on this storm here. So that's what makes it a little bit concerning, because it's basically kind of rolling into an environment where there's not much limitation. So obviously we have, not much wind shear here with the system here. Obviously we have the venting, like I mentioned, in the upper levels. But, other than that, I mean, it's not too much. There's really not too much wind shear to be an issue with this system here. Once again, waters, 28, 29 degrees Celsius out here, very, very, very warm. And then, of course, our moisture here, it looks like it does still kind of contain a lot of deep moisture here, over the next several days here. So, once it kind of approaches just north of, the Virgin Islands and, Puerto Rico, that is where we really could see some possible rapid intensification. We're talking some really, really quick development rates with the storm. I think, could be quite possible. I mean, this thing could go from, little to big in a short period of time, just given that there's really not a whole lot of limitations here. So that's mostly what I'm kind of concerned about, with this system here is the, the lack of limitations that we do have here. Let's see here. Cassandra says, is it going to hit the States? It's too early to tell. New model guidance does kind of show the storm possibly moving a little bit more further up north, but that does not rule out any potential of it hitting the U.S. No. Right now, we don't know. I was talking about this here earlier, guys. As far as we can look out here is the cone itself. We cannot look out any further beyond the cone because of how inaccurate and, inconsistent the models kind of are. So, with that being said, anything further than this is kind of in la la land. Can't really trust it too much. Let's see here. Roadster says it's evolving tropical event. Stay aware. Absolutely. Yeah. I will say this. The U.S. East Coast should monitor the storm, of course. Also, Bermuda. I need you guys to monitor this. I mean, Bahamas monitor it as well. Out to by Puerto Rico. Wouldn't hurt to keep an eye on it as well. These areas should monitor the system, but, full-on preparations are not required right now because of how much uncertainty there is and, considering how far out this system is in general. There is still a lot of things that we don't know what's going to go on here. Let's see. What's up, Twilight? Saying late to stream, Erin, rapidly intensifying. So not yet, but it will. Especially once we work our way over here into these waters here. This is where it's really going to start to pick up that strength because, lack of wind shear, tons of moisture, and those sea surface temperatures, a good 28, 29 Celsius, are definitely very warm, in which, this is the area where we're probably going to see some pretty quick development here. But, right now where the storm's at, it has a little bit of drier air in it. Not super, super dry air, but it's, it's moist enough, but you can see we do have some convection going on now. You can see the circulation of the system. It looks a little bit better this evening than it did earlier this morning when we did our update. It looked pretty bad this morning, but it's hanging in there. But yeah, it's actually starting to roll into some warmer waters now. We're kind of in like 26 degrees Celsius waters, which before we were in like 24, 25 degrees Celsius waters. But that's only going to go up the further west we go. Let's see here. Yeah, moderate. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I obviously would never lie to you guys about the weather, and I make sure to give you guys the actual information. There's people that like to go well beyond the cone. I'm here to tell you, you cannot trust anything beyond the cone because of how inconsistent, how inaccurate it is. But yeah, it's unfortunate, It is really unfortunate. YouTube is just interesting. Social media is interesting. But, the best I can do is just keep doing what I do, man. Just keep on streaming and making sure that you guys are staying up to date. At least I can help out a lot of you. Honestly, I don't care if it's 20, 30 people watching. That is what I consider helping. If it's 20 to 30 people I can help, that is more than enough. But honestly, the more the better to help out as many people. But honestly, I'm okay with that. So, anyways, let's see here. What's up, Brady? Saying there's a typhoon making landfall. Is there? Yeah, I don't really focus too much out for those regions here. I mostly just focus on sometimes the EPAC, Eastern Pacific, Central Pacific, but mostly the Atlantic I mostly cover. Anyways, what is happening in the Caribbean right now? So yeah, we have a bit of deep convection going on here just east of the Yucatan Peninsula. Some pretty disorganized thunderstorm activity here. It's been convecting pretty heavily all day today. Now, the Hurricane Center, they actually added an area here, you can see. Once we get into the southern Gulf, there is this area that the Hurricane Center did add. Overall, 20% chance probability of formation, tropical formation. So we could have maybe a short-lived tropical depression. It does seem to be possible. But, honestly, I doubt it would be anything, anything major or anything like that, because it just doesn't really have enough time. The models don't really have it picking up on anything significant per se. But, we'll watch it, of course. It's not as big of a concern as Erin is. That's for sure. And, of course, we cannot forget about this little 10% chance as well. Just south of Nova Scotia here. Is this Horseshoe Island? Or is it Sable Island? Sable Island, got it. I remembered, man. I've covered these areas so many times with previous systems. I forgot the names of them, but I've covered Nova Scotia getting hit many, many times in the past. Let's see here. Is there any hurricanes in the Pacific that might push some moisture more to the west or no? Pacific, we have one storm in the central Pacific. This is Henriette. I think it's how you pronounce that. Yeah. Currently 999 millibars, 65 sustained, and moving northwest at 18. I think this is in pretty cool waters right now, too, which is kind of why it's dying. It's a big reason. But, Michael, yeah, no, these storms are not going to have any form of effect on this guy. Consider there are two different bodies of water. There's a typhoon in Taiwan. Is there? I got you. Yeah, I haven't, like I said, I don't really focus too much out there. I just kind of keep it to the North Atlantic and, of course, the states here. So, anyways, let's see here. The Gulf is around 90 degrees, way hot. Yeah, no, the waters are out there are boiling. Not literally, but but they're very warm. Yeah, 31 Celsius out here. That's pretty toasty. There is a good chance here, with the track of this, with Erin. So as Erin works its way westward and likely just north of the Virgin Islands here, and that potential northerly curve, it could bring it into those waters that are like 29, 30 degrees Celsius. And, without limitations like wind shear, upper level winds disturbing the storm structure, or moisture, lack of moisture, anything like that, if it remains plentiful of moisture, lack of wind shear, and it rolls into those waters, it could really pick up strength. So don't be surprised if you see that. Okay, I really want you to know that. That's where we could really see some quick development. Honestly, I know this is kind of going out on a limb, but I would not be surprised if this thing could get a little stronger than what is currently projected. Because the models, like I mentioned in the future, represent very, very, first of all, very, very warm sea surface temperatures, still enough moisture, not much wind shear. We'll just have to see. I mean, things can obviously change between now and then, especially given it's towards the end of the forecast cone. But, wouldn't be surprised if it really starts picking up strength. Zachary says, what does your title NWW16 represent? Thank you for your coverage. Yeah, so NWW stands for Nationwide Weather, and then 116 was just my lucky number I've always had. But I appreciate it, Zach. It's very, very sweet if you did. Let's see. But anyways, all right. So let's go ahead and dive into models, y'all. We're gonna take a peek at what's going on here in the tropics, more in depth here. So yeah, this was the HAFSA parent model. Just some gradual development as we work our way westward here overall. So that's that. Just gradual development. You can see that there is enough moisture. There could be some points in which some dry air could get into the system. This is pulling up to the 15th here. HFSA kind of has later development, but you can see once we kind of approach near the Caribbean, this is where things really, really start to kick off here. Which, if you look here, just north of Puerto Rico and some of those waters out there by the Virgin Islands, and just north of the Antilles here. It looks like the HAFSA does show still a pretty good amount of moisture here. That's not really being an issue. Once again, the wind shear is what I was going to look at. You can see a lot of that upper level venting going on there. A lot of this is just upper level wind shear associated from the system itself, not against the storm. So that wouldn't really have much effects on the system itself. You can see a lot of that's just going around, the system itself. It's just the venting process. But, I mean, like I mentioned, that's what I'm mostly concerned about here, is the fact that, there's not a whole lot of wind shear acting against the storm here. The fact that there is still plenty enough moisture and, those waters out there, a good 29 degrees Celsius, which pretty warm tropical standards. Those are really the three main things that can really drive rapid intensification in a tropical cyclone. So it's kind of like hitting the gas fully once we get into these waters out here. That's what I'm mostly concerned about, is how strong it gets. Now hopefully it doesn't hit anybody. Hopefully it steers out to sea, which is a real possibility. Just like given the latest model guidance here, you can see on the spaghetti models, once we just pass north of Puerto Rico, you can see that we do kind of aggressively, shift possibly more to the northeast here. But if that is the case, this could put areas like Bermuda at risk. Bermuda, you folks out there, if you're taking a vacation out there, whatnot, be careful and keep an eye out there for it. Bermuda, there's no reason to be panicking or anything like that. There's no reason to buy out the grocery stores and stuff like that right now, because things can still change. I mean, the last little bit we've been seeing some of these models shift a little bit further south, a little bit west. The latest runs kind of shift a little bit further north again, but it's probably going to be teeter-tottering back and forth for the next little bit. I mean, it's probably going to be doing that for several days, as we kind of determine the track. I mean, where it's at now, and by the time we approach near like Sunday, it's going to be, it's a pretty good distance, and there's a lot of things that can change even between that time. So let's go ahead and take a look at this here. So this is another set of models. This is the GEPS. You can see there's a lot of uncertainty here. The GEPS here, you don't want to go too far down. Once again, I don't recommend looking any further than 150 hours out, so right in here. But look at all that spread, though. Some of the ensembles, some of the members, show it going continually westward. Some of them have it pulling up. A lot of it has to determine on what happens with this central Bermuda high that we have in the Atlantic. There's been a lot of support in which this high could kind of break up and move eastward, which could allow for a little alleyway for the system to possibly kind of pull further out to sea, which would be kind of the best scenario, honestly. But like I mentioned, that scenario could put areas like Bermuda at risk. So, it still is just a little bit, early here. And then, of course, we have the GFS, the GEFS ensembles here, too. Still showing a pretty big spread here. They really start to spread here once kind of we get north of Puerto Rico. That's kind of where everything becomes pretty what's the word for it? Can't even English right now. Typical Andrew moment. This is where you basically can't trust anything beyond this point. There we go. I did it. Let's see here. Calvin says, is there wind shear in the Gulf that might limiting development of the tropical wave in the northwest Caribbean? Well, this has nothing to do with Erin. If you're talking about that second system or this new area that we're watching in the Gulf, you mentioned Caribbean. No, there's currently no wind shear that poses a concern, or not much wind shear concern for Erin, if that's what you're talking about. If you're still talking about Erin, then yeah. Let's see. If the storms form in the Caribbean, they usually head into the Gulf of Mexico. That's not always true. No. See, a lot of it determines on steering currents and, just where other systems, high, low pressure systems are in proximity to the storm system itself. So, for example, with this system here, a big steering mechanism is the Bermuda high that we have, that central high pressure in the Atlantic, in which, if that high pressure weakens or goes far to the right, or to the right-hand side, that could allow for the storm to possibly slip up further up to the north. And that's kind of what models have been kind of talking about potentially could occur. But, I will not stress it enough, though. I will not say it enough. I mean, anything beyond the cone is just la-la land, essentially. The cone size exists for a reason, and it only goes out as far, for a reason, in which anything really beyond this point is just kind of, kind of a little bit up for grabs, essentially. Let's see. You're prepared for hurricane season if you're in the area. Absolutely. I mean, everybody should be definitely prepared for hurricane season. I mean, if you're in the tropical areas and, you're out there by the coastlines and stuff, I mean, yeah, if you're in an area that gets tropical systems now and then, of course, make sure that you are, having those plans in place, That's just general. But, nobody right now has to go out on a limb and, do immediate shopping or anything like that yet. But like I mentioned, if things change and if areas really do become, under a serious threat, we'll let you know. But as of now, there is currently no threat to the United States. There is currently no threat, to Bermuda. I mean, even though Bermuda should monitor the system, so should the United States. I mean, the U.S. coast, yes, should monitor the storm, but is currently under no threat, if that makes sense. So just watch it. Keep an eye on the weather. Keep an eye on us here. We'll keep on giving you guys updates. Once again, we're doing 2 updates today. We're doing a live stream sometime in early afternoon and then one in the evening, like now, which we're doing an evening update for you guys. So, we'll keep you updated. We'll let you guys know what you need to know. And we'll make sure that you guys are staying safe. That's what is important here. What's up, Tammy? Saying, hey, everyone. What's up, my friend? Good to see ya. Justin says the only time when to start worrying is off the models start to agree. So, where most of the models agree is the greatest probability of where the storm could go. But there is a big spread right now, in the models. So that's where it's very uncertain. But, yeah, once those models really start to, kind of narrow and really start to get close to each other, that's whenever there is a bit of agreement that happens. But, yeah, typically. Let's see. Atlantic and Pacific have unique names. Yeah, we got Erin with an E, and then we got, is it Henriette? Henriette, that's, yeah, I'm surprised how up north Henriette is, actually. The waters out here, pretty sure are pretty cold. Here, let's see if we can bring up the here, let's just open a new tab here. Why not open up a new tab here? So sea surface temperatures, ocean analysis. Well, so there's Hawaii. Here, let me probably do a better view. Probably not the best. Let's do Central Pacific. Here we go. So there's Hawaii. The system's actually pretty far north above Hawaii. So yeah, I mean, this has got to be in those really cold waters, in which that's really why that system is just expected to die as it continues going further north. But I mean, it still is a pretty strong tropical storm. I guarantee you, I'm going to say this now, I haven't looked at satellite, I guarantee you there's not much convection on it at all. I guarantee it. Hold on. let me pull up this page here. Where's Henriette? Oh, there it is. Yeah. You can see the bare bone low right underneath kind of just slipping out from under the convection. That's actually pretty funny. Look at that. You can just see the lower level circulation just slip under the convection there. That's funny, dude. I'm sorry. I'm just getting amused by that. You can see that. Literally, you can see where the center is there. It just slides up underneath that convection. All right. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. Let's go back to Erin here. Let's actually take a peek at Erin here. So, yeah. So, Erin, like I mentioned, was having a bit of problems. And, the latest scans really do have this thing looking a lot better. At this point in time, we do actually have some pretty good convection going on here. Pretty close to the core of the system. Once again, it is working its way into warmer waters now, which right now we're kind of right around 26 degrees Celsius waters out here, in which, that's, it's heading into warmer waters, which we're probably going to start to see a little bit more strengthening. Right now, we're just kind of sustaining itself. Right now, it's actually been at 45 sustain, which it is now, for like the last 24 hours. So it's been at low end tropical storm for a while, but here soon it'll start picking up as we roll into warmer waters. Plenty enough moisture, like we mentioned, not much wind shear in the forecast. So yeah, I mean it's going to start doing better soon. Yes, but yeah, it really wasn't looking too healthy earlier this morning, but it looks a little bit better. Let's see. Yeah, hopefully hopefully we don't have that. Erin isn't uncommon. Oh, really? Yeah, I've never really heard Erin with an E before. Josh's, no. Pennsylvania is not going to see a hurricane. Now, there's currently no area in the United States that is at risk. Now, I will say the U.S. East Coast should monitor the storm. There is currently no threat for Pennsylvania, though. It's a little far out for all that. Yeah, so like I mentioned before, guys, and I'll say it, you'll probably hear me say it a million times in this stream. Anything outside of the cone we cannot really look at because of how models really become inconsistent and stuff. There's a lot of uncertainty past this cone here, which, if I show you guys the models and stuff once again, I mean, you could just see how much they spread. Once we get past that point, the cone ends like right here, roughly. That's a very rough drawing. But you can see beyond that point just how big of a spread it really is. So that's why it's important that not really pay attention, far out beyond the cone, because all of this, literally, y'all, all of this is a big question mark. And it will be for the next few days. As we continue working west, we'll slowly build the puzzle. Day by day. But for now, this area is a big question mark here. So that's why I'm just saying, the East Coast should still monitor the storm. Of course, Bermuda. Pretty sure that's Bermuda. It's a little speck. Is that Bermuda? Yeah, that's Bermuda. Okay. Yeah, Bermuda should monitor it too. And we'll just watch it. And once again, if this thing does become an issue, like a serious threat, we will let you know. Let's see here. Much potential for increasing strength. Yeah, that's what I'm mostly concerned about with this system right now is how quickly this thing is likely going to explode in development. Especially, like I mentioned, once we get into the waters out here, just north of Puerto Rico, that is where that's essentially where we have the best conditions possible for this system. Once again, no little to no wind shear issues, except for the upper level venting we have, which that's a part of the system anyways. That won't really be a problem for the storm at all. Between that, the really warm waters out here, actually 29, closer to 30 degrees Celsius out here, mostly 29. And then, of course, the moisture. It seems like moisture is not going to be really much of an issue here. Let's see here. Don't take your guard down until it's gone. Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. All these areas should watch the system, but nobody is currently under a big threat, if that makes sense. So, right now, the best you can do, guys, is everybody just stay tuned with the weather. Keep an eye on it. No reason to shop for, anything. No reason to panic. No, it's, no reason for all that. But we'll just continue monitoring this, and we'll see where it goes. See, it seems to be a fish storm. Bermuda is too weak to steer to the west. Yeah, that Bermuda high is something that I'm really keeping an eye on. But there is also that high pressure too, kind of along the Gulf and eastern Canada. There is still a little bit of uncertainty with that. It is not for sure. While it does seem like a pretty good probability that it could be a fish storm, it's still way too early to tell for sure. Once again, anything beyond the cone is just kind of pushing it. What's up, Leo? Good to see you, my friend. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, so that's that here. We're going to hop back over here to the sat view. So once again, this is it right now. It's not looking very pretty right now. Yeah, it's just a little bit of a blob right now. We just have a bunch of scattered convection here. With those cold waters and stuff it was dealing with, it wasn't really doing a whole lot this morning. But now we're, like I said, we're really starting to roll into warmer waters, and the system's probably going to start really kind of showing itself here soon. Now on the forecast track, once again, this is from the Hurricane Center here. We are expected to, once again, we are expected to see the system become a hurricane by the morning of Friday. Okay, this could even happen as early as late Thursday. The system transitioning from a tropical storm into a hurricane, okay? And then, of course, from there on out, that's when we'll likely start to see some pretty quick development with the system here. By later on the afternoon here of Friday, it could already be up towards Category 2 strength here. Beforehand, I don't know if you guys remember, but some of the earlier cones from the Hurricane Center had this thing, Cat 3, just north of the Antilles. In which, as of right now, 2 p.m. on, the 16th, which I believe, Saturday. Yeah, that's right, Saturday. It'll still possibly be a Category 2, just shy of a Cat 3. And then, of course, in the forecast track here from the Hurricane Center, as far as we can look out, reasonably right now, Category 3 is on the forecast track here. 115 mile per hour sustained winds, gusting up to right around 140 or so. And that'll be right there for the afternoon here of Sunday. So between now and Sunday, you can see how much distance it's going to have to cover here. From where it's at now, you can see to, once we get to Sunday, that's still several days out. And remember, a lot of things can happen, even in a single day with tracking the tropics. There could be a lot of new developments and a lot of new things that we learn. So we still got a while as a way to go. I mean, there's a lot of things that could, there's a lot of things that could certainly change between now and then. Yeah, it's definitely, like I said, there is no way of knowing for sure if it will be a fish storm. There is a chance it could. There's also a chance it can't. But once again, like I mentioned, anything beyond the cone, too early to tell. Too early to tell. Let's see here. Michael says, could it possibly reach Cat 5? Way too early to tell. But, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing does become a really, really, high-end hurricane. Really wouldn't be surprised. I mean, especially given the conditions that are in the forecast here. I mean, there's not a lot of limitations. That's what I will say. I'll leave it at that. There's not a lot of limitations here with this system. Hopping back over here to like HWRF and stuff. Actually, let's do, we'll look at this real quickly, and then we'll look at some other models here. So here's HWRF here. Just gradual development here going into 15th. Likely tropical storm, probably going into hurricane status here, and it does just continue picking up some strength here over the next several days. Right here for the 17th, which that would be on, Sunday? Yeah, Sunday, HWRF has this thing becoming quite the system here. There is the infrared view. You can see HWRF has the storm here just north of the Virgin Islands, northeast of Puerto Rico. But quite the eye on it here, according to the HWRF here. But it does have it mostly just north of the main islands here. But the model ends right here at 126 hours out. So that's one model. Remember, that's one model. That's one run, two. Let's go to the HMON real quickly. We'll take a look at the HMON model here. So this one, HMON kind of agrees, just some gradual development over the next few days. It's not really until we approach the 15th where things really start strengthening. That's actually kind of a common denominator I've noticed. With the models, it seems like a lot of the activity really starts kicking off once we approach the 15th. And I think that's when the Hurricane Center had that, has the system becoming a hurricane. Yep, so for the 15th here, 2 a.m. Once again, it could even be a hurricane by late Thursday, but currently on the forecast has it for early Friday from the Hurricane Center. But yeah, gradual development here, not much, no weakening occurring, just strengthening because, once again, those conditions out there are pretty good. You can see we have plenty amount of moisture here, indicated in this bluish color. A little bit of drier air on the outsides, but still enough moisture. That's not a problem at all. I don't think this model doesn't show the the wind shear and whatnot. But yeah, even wind shear won't be much of an issue. It doesn't look like either. A lot of the models don't really show wind shear being a problem with this system. And then, of course, the sea surface temperatures out there, like we've mentioned here, are very, very warm. Super, super warm here. Let's bring those up. Yeah, so by the time right around in here is where the end of that model is, and showing basically 29 degrees Celsius waters. So, at this point, we're just going to continue working westward, and where it goes from there after beyond that point is unknown. But yeah, it's definitely looking pretty good. In terms of rapid strengthening here. Looks pretty well vertically stacked too. That wind shear isn't really going to be causing too much of a a problem. See, that's the issue with wind shear and upper level winds is that, or just strong winds throughout the atmosphere, pushing against the storm, is it kind of destabilizes the storm structure and allows for the system to rapidly weaken. But the concerning thing is that it doesn't really look like that's going to be much of an issue with this one. At least for the beginning parts of the storm here. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of limitations going on here. Let's take a look at the HAFSA parent here. Here's another model. Let's see here. Twilight says, I'll keep coming for updates, but I'm heading out for now. Everyone take care. You too, Twilight. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Let's see. Surprising we don't have any severe weather active. You know what? I'm actually thankful for that. You know what? Because the more stuff going on, the more overwhelming it'll be. Yeah, we don't got nothing on day one. Tomorrow, we do have a little slight risk tomorrow up here in Kansas. And then day 3, also another little slight risk up here. North Dakota and Minnesota. A little 2% tornado risk tomorrow. Anyways. Yeah, most of the eyes are on the tropics here, though. Thankfully, we're not seeing anything big time, severe weather. So that's very good. I'm very thankful for that. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. We're here for you guys. I'm not, just gonna, go through this without, having any answers or anything like that. So just feel free to ask any questions. Josh is, we're not really set up for looking at all severe weather right now, but as of now, there is no threat out there for Pennsylvania except for that thunderstorm threat. So wouldn't count on it. Just keep an eye on it, and if they change it, they change it. I would do a little bit more in-depthness with that, but we're keeping everything on the tropics in this stream. Oh, let's see. What's the next name for the hurricane season? That's a really good question. That is a really good question. Here, let me pull it up. I'll show you guys the hurricane center or hurricane season names here. Let's see. Hurricane names this year. Here we go. There you go. Here's our names this year, y'all. So now we're on Erin. So is it Fernand? I think it is. correct me if I'm wrong on that. Not good with these names, but yeah, these are all the names that come up this year. We do have a Karen, unfortunately. Unfortunately, this one, not looking forward to tracking that one. But yeah, we got Fernan, Gabrielle, I think it is, Humberto, Imelda, Jerry, Karen, Lorenzo, Melissa, Nestor. Then we go over here to Olga, Pablo, Rebecca, Sebastian, Tanya, Van, and Wendy. So those are all the names we got this year. Let's see. Yeah, absolutely. When did the Hurricane Hunters flying out? I heard something about Thursday. Which will be on the, let's see, the 14th. Yeah, so on the 14th they'll fly out. Day after tomorrow. But anyways, all right, hopping back to models, y'all. So, like I mentioned, wind shear wise, it doesn't look like there's going to be a whole lot of, wind shear acting against the storm here because, a lot of this is just that upper level venting that it has and everything like that. But looking at the HFSA parent model, you can see that, it does kick up pretty strong, especially once we get north of like Puerto Rico and stuff. That's what we're likely going to have, some of the heaviest strengthening in the storm here. Yeah, looking at moisture too, the green. So the greenish blue represents a lot of moisture. The brown represents a lot of dry air. If I grab, never mind, I was going to say if I grab a sounding here, maybe I can do GFS. So in the brown areas, you can see the big spacing between our dew point and the green here and our temperature in the red. So this is a vertical slice of the atmosphere. We call it skew-T chart. And basically, the further the distance between your dew point and your temperature is, the lower the humidity. So you notice if I click on that, there's a big gap between the temperature and humidity, the temperature and the dew point. And if we look at the blue, you can see it's just one pretty much solid line because everything's saturated here. But so yeah, with you knowing that now, hopping back to the HFSA parents, you can see that it really just wraps up a bunch of moisture. It really doesn't look like it's going to have a whole lot of lacking of moisture. Now, of course, over the next little bit, it could have a little bit of dry air kind of getting into it, but, before we approach the Antilles, or just north of the Antilles, we'll really start wrapping in some moisture. Let's see. Sean says, did the Hurricane Center mark the area near Mexico? They did, yes. So yeah, we got a new area we're watching. It has a pretty low probability of development here. Got an overall 20% in the next 7 days, so unlikely. We could get maybe a short-lived depression out of this, but it doesn't really seem to be anything big. Nothing super concerning. Formation through the next 48 hours has also a 10% chance, which is pretty unlikely. We also got that 10-10 shot up here south of Nova Scotia here. And, of course, all of our eyes are on Erin right now. That's the one that we really need to be watching. Let's see. Karen and Erin must be sisters. Hey, you never know. But anyways, so we'll definitely keep an eye on things, guys. Once again, we'll make sure to keep y'all weather-aware and updated. And for my new folks that are here, first of all, welcome. Good to have you guys here. And like I said, we'll make sure to keep you guys updated. I know there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of bad forecasters out there who hype things up for no reason. It's ridiculous. But we'll make sure to give you guys actual information, and we'll make sure to keep it true with you guys. Y'all can count on it. And the bottom thing is, the bottom line is, guys, is that anything beyond the cone, like I've mentioned before, is too far out because, the cone ends for a reason. Anything beyond the cone is highly unknown right now. You can see the big spread beyond the cone. The cone's not shown here, but in the models, the ensembles here from the GFS model, you can just see the big spread, within reasonable standpoint here. Roughly, that's kind of where the cone is. But yeah, but like I mentioned, anything beyond, anything beyond the cone is just too far out. Too far out. So instead of focusing on this right now, let's just focus on this right now, just in here. So where the cone is about as far as we can go. Reasonably. Is Erin the only tropical storm right? Yeah, so in the North Atlantic, it is the only tropical storm right now, yes. We do have another tropical storm in the Central Pacific going on, but yeah, Atlantic-wise, yes. But yeah, so guys, if y'all have any questions, feel free to let me know. Here, let's go ahead and dive our way back into models here. We're going to look more at the mainstream models. So let me zoom out here. We're going to go to the North Atlantic. So here is the GFS. So looking at the GFS, you can see, according to the GFS, over the next few days here, just some slow development possible, nothing big. It's probably not going to do a whole lot over the next few days, because it is running into a little bit of dry air. But it'll start wrapping in moisture here once we kind of approach the 15th. It looks like on the 15th, that's when we're going to really start to see this thing picking up in strength here. That's whenever it starts to really pull in a lot of moisture, when it starts really working in those warm waters. And, at that point in time, there's not much wind shear either. So, yeah, pretty much from the 15th and beyond, that's when we're going to really start to see this thing, kick up in strength here. Now, we continue working westward. According to the GFS model, the system does remain north of the Virgin Islands, just north of the Antilles, northeast of Puerto Rico here. I know it's kind of hard to see, but that little speck right there, that's Bermuda. Don't want to go too far down in time, but the GFS does have this thing taking a sharp northerly turn, as you can see. But it does have it kind of scraping pretty close to Bermuda. That's about 168 hours out. Anything further than that, I really wouldn't want to look. But yeah, so GFS does indeed, the latest run, have it kind of pulling out to sea well away from the U.S. East Coast. So remember, that is one model. That is one model run. Things can absolutely change between now and then. Still got several days to watch it before it even gets to the point where it could turn. It's still several days away. But yeah, so that's that. Now, in terms of the Euro, the ECMWF here, this is the 18 UTC. So Euro, we can look at the full duration because it's under 150 hours. So Euro has the system possibly getting a little bit closer to areas out here by, the Virgin Islands and but still just to the north of Puerto Rico and whatnot. But it is a little bit further south. Now, Euro does have the system going a little bit further south and a little further west here. And you can kind of see at this point in time the Euro model does kind of show it maybe slightly starting to pull north. And a lot of that is because of the fact here that, that Bermuda high that we have in the Atlantic is going to be really kind of pushed to the east here. So that's going to kind of open up a gateway for the storm to possibly just kind of work its way further deeper into the ocean. So that would be kind of the best scenario, but like I mentioned, that would kind of put areas like Bermuda at risk, because Bermuda's just kind of sticking out there. So that's that. So we looked at Euro, GFS. Let's go to CMC now. Once again, the more models, the merrier. It's obviously good to look at that. So CMC actually has pretty darn slow development, up until the point where you approach the Virgin Islands here, or just north of the Virgin Islands. You can see that, the CMC really has the system not doing a whole lot over the next few days. That's kind of different from what the GFS and the Euro talked about. This model kind of delays the strengthening of the system, but it has it rapidly strengthening once we approach, into these waters here, just north of Puerto Rico. But, kind of similar to GFS, it does have it pulling to the north, but yeah, anything beyond this point, it's just too far out to tell. It does have it getting pretty close to Bermuda. I do need my folks in Bermuda to be watching this closely, as there theoretically could be some issues down in time. There's no immediate threat right now for Bermuda, but I do need Bermuda to watch this one, okay? We do need you just to monitor the weather for the next few days. And we'll just until we kind of see what the thing is doing, okay? And then, of course, lastly, we do have the Icon model here. Honestly, Icon is kind of an outcast here. Not really showing a whole lot. The Icon's been pretty poor at performance with this system so far. So I don't really trust the Icon too much. But yeah, it doesn't really have hardly any strengthening up until the point we approach the Antilles. And even then, it just has it becoming kind of like in the maybe stronger tropical storm force just north of Puerto Rico. But likely during that point, we're going to have that major hurricane there. The Hurricane Center, once again, on the cone that we do have, has the storm, as it approaches just north of Puerto Rico, being a Category 3. And around that time, that'll be for the for the afternoon here of Sunday. Being the 17th, in which, at that point in time, we are expecting this thing to be a Category 3, sustained winds here right around 115, potential higher gusts, possibly up to right around 140 or so. So, we'll definitely watch it. We'll definitely keep you guys, up to date with everything, and we'll let I can't even English. We'll let you guys know what y'all need to know and everything like that. Let's see here. Very fortunate to have AC. Oh, yeah. If you don't have AC, I am sorry. I feel bad for you. But anyways, so guys, once again, if you have any questions, let me know. We'll definitely be here to help. So yeah, I will tell you this though, up here by Puerto Rico and kind of towards the Virgin Islands and whatnot, I do need you all to monitor the system. No need for full-on preparations or anything like that right now, but it would not hurt to just keep an eye on the weather. Once again, keep an eye on it and stay tuned with us, because like I mentioned here, we're going to be doing 2 updates per day. Josh is, I do not watch them. And why watch them when you have me? Come on, man. Let's see. Samuel says you think the Gulf is 40%. No, the Hurricane Center has it at a overall 20% chance with that one system going in the Gulf. Yeah, like I mentioned, out of this guy, not super worried about it at all, really. It is, like I said, there's a lot of heavy convection out there just east of the Yucatan. It's going to cross over the Yucatan and go into the southern, the southern Gulf here, which, overall probability of development here is a 20% through the next 7 days, which that's pretty unlikely. And in formation throughout the next, 48 hours, we do have a 10% chance here. So, and of course that little 10-10 up here to the north here too, just south of Nova Scotia. But yeah, these guys I'm not really worried about. Models, really don't have it picking up too much. If we take a look at the Western Atlantic here, with this system, we'll pop over the GFS real quickly. 18 UTC GFS here. You can see where that system's at there, but as we track it, it doesn't really do anything. Yeah, GFS doesn't have much happening out of it. Let's see here. Euro shows. You can see it right there. Euro doesn't really show a whole lot. It just kind of remains just a bunch of clustered thunderstorms. That's really about it. It doesn't have the thing becoming anything big. Yeah, I'm not worried about it, honestly, y'all. I am not really worried about that system. But, like I mentioned, though, Erin, on the other hand, that one's a little bit more concerning, and we'll definitely keep an eye on it. So bottom line is, y'all, at this point in time, the U.S. East Coast, I need you guys to watch it. There is no need for full-on preparations or anything like that right now because it's too early to tell where it's going to go. Same thing for Bermuda. I do need you guys in Bermuda to watch this one, too, pretty closely. Same thing out there by, like, Puerto Rico, some of the Virgin Islands out there by the Antilles. Wouldn't hurt to keep an eye on the system as well. Obviously, at this point in time, the system is not going to go under into the Southern Caribbean. That's not a possible scenario anymore. So this thing will be passing just likely north of like Puerto Rico and everything like that. So, and then once again on the forecast track, this thing's going to remain a tropical storm for the next several days. The next few days it's just still going to be a tropical storm for at least the next 2 days. And it's not really until late Thursday, early Friday is when we'll probably see the transition, from tropical storm into, hurricane status here, which it is forecasted to become a Cat 1 here for the morning of Friday. So we'll look out for that. But then, gradual strengthening is expected, or pretty quick strengthening is expected beyond that point. And, by the time we approach the afternoon here of Sunday, Hurricane Center does have this thing becoming a major hurricane, Category 3. And at that point in time, we'll probably have winds sustained at 115, gusting up to right around 140 or so. See, stay weather aware, Southeast USA. Absolutely. I mean, just the East Coast should monitor it. Once again, honestly, even the Bahamas, it wouldn't hurt to monitor it. Same thing for Bermuda. Same thing for, the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. But, from what a lot of the extended range guidance has is it does have it kind of pulling a little bit to the north. It is very possible, but remember, that is kind of pushing it. Anything beyond the cone is pushing it. Could it do what Irma did? Theoretically it could, but only time will tell. I wouldn't expect it to, though. I wouldn't really expect it to. We'll just have to see what happens because, once again, I'll say it again, anything beyond the cone is a big old question mark. This is basically the reasonable track that we have available right now. And you can see the cone does become pretty big at the end, north of Puerto Rico here. And, looking at those models, you can see the big spread that we have. Obviously, a lot of the models do want this thing to carry in further into the Atlantic, kind of chilling around this high pressure here. That Bermuda high that we do have, which we'll have to see what happens. But there is also some more steering mechanisms, like another area of high pressure here in the eastern side of Canada could influence the storm's path too. Yeah, we'll see. Let's see. Samuel, no way of knowing, dude. We didn't expect Irma either. Yeah. That's why it's important that everybody still should just monitor the system, including Florida. I'm not saying it will hit Florida. There is no guidance saying it will right now. Anything beyond that's too far out. The East Coast should monitor it. Bermuda should keep an eye on it. Some of these islands out in the Caribbean, keep an eye on it as well. But currently there is no active threat for the United States. Right now it's just a big watching game and just seeing how it progresses over the next few days here. Okay? But anyways, folks, well, I'm probably going to roll off here soon, so if there's any final questions you guys might have, throw them down in the chat. I just want to say thank you all for joining us. If you're new to the channel, consider leaving a like, hitting that subscribe button. Also, if you're not new to the channel, just consider leaving a like if you could as well. Be greatly appreciated. And, one of the most important things you guys could do is help share this channel as well. Help spread the word, and I'll make sure to keep you guys up to date with everything. We'll make sure to keep y'all in the loop. Once again, there's a lot of hype forecasters out there. I'm not one of them. I keep it real. I let you all know what's really going on out there. So if you want a reliable source of weather, you're here. So be sure to subscribe. If you could, maybe leave a like just to help spread the or kind of help the algorithm, maybe help potential more people. So the more people we can help, the better. But I always thought of it as if I'm helping somebody, it is worth it. It is worth it. So it's not about it's not about how many people, but it's, just about helping out. And that's what I'm here for. That's all I care about. Let's see here. Thanks. I appreciate you answering my question. Yeah, of course. No problem. No problem at all. Of course. I'm here for you guys. But yeah, like I mentioned, we do have these two areas. Not worried about them. And we'll keep an eye on it. But yeah, probably not going to do a whole lot. And once again, with Erin here, just gradually westward movement, not a whole lot of anything going on in the next few days. It's probably just going to kind of consist at a kind of a normal pace, just kind of sustaining, maybe slight strengthening over the next couple of days. It's not until we reach Friday is where the thing could really start picking up some strength. And, once we kind of get out there by the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, that's where we really could pick up a lot more strength here with the system. So, don't be surprised. I will say this. Don't be surprised if the system does become quite strong once we approach just north of areas out here, or like I said, just north of Puerto Rico. Don't be surprised if the thing really starts picking up in strength, because the way guidance is and the way the guidance has been, there has been, a lot of support of really not much limitation, to how strong the storm could be. It's pretty much all gas once we get to the areas just north of Puerto Rico, because once again, high sea surface temperatures, a good 29, some areas 30 degrees Celsius, very warm for tropical development, little to no wind shear acting against the storm system itself, and of course the moisture still looks pretty good. Still looks like we're really wrapping in a lot of moisture, so that's that. Let's see, you may be talking to 1,000 people, but you can help so many. See, good job, Andrew. Keep up with the good work. I appreciate it, Michael. Yeah, like I mentioned, the more the better that I can help out, but even if I'm helping out just one person, it is totally worth it. I am glad to help out you guys. So be sure you guys could share and leave a like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. That way it helps out and, could help, help a lot more people out. That's what we're here for. Let's see here. Justin says, I highly doubt that Tropical Storm Erin is going to do Irma track unless the Bermuda High becomes more stronger than expected. Yeah, I mean, if it was going to do something like that, either A, the Bermuda High needs to be stronger, or positioned further west than expected. But that is a big unknown factor right now. We don't know what it's going to do, really. Anything beyond the cone is in La La Land. It's just too early to tell. It really is. All right, everybody. Going once, going twice. If y'all have any questions, be sure to let me know. But yeah, we'll be back here to live tomorrow with you guys. We'll do 2 live streams tomorrow. I was thinking about even doing a video tomorrow, so we might have 2 streams, 1 video coming out tomorrow. I'm gonna be on it tomorrow. We'll make sure to keep you guys updated. It's gonna be that way throughout the system. We're gonna make sure you guys are staying up to date with the tropics, and this is my season. I always loved tropical weather season. I don't like the destruction some of these storms cause, but tracking the tropics has always been my thing. So we're going to be cranking out the updates for you guys. We'll make sure to have it out there. And once again, probably tomorrow late morning or early afternoon, we'll go live. Sometime midday, we will probably do a video, and then evening we'll do another live stream. So we're going to do like a big sandwich. We're going to do stream, video, stream. So that's on the plan for tomorrow. At least 2 streams here. I'm not guaranteeing the video, but it's something I'll definitely consider doing. Anyways, see eyes on the cone. Absolutely. What's up, Ghosted? You kind of joined at the wrong time. We're heading off here, my friend. It's good to see you, though. Hope you're doing well. Josh has said we got a new hurricane update on Tropical Storm. Do we? Has it changed any? Let's look here. 11 p.m. AST. Yep, we sure did. It slowed down a little bit, actually. Yeah, it slowed down a little bit. So we were moving west at 22. Yeah, you can see the top left there. This is the old update. In the top left of the screen. So it was pressure 1,006, winds 45, west at 22. Pressure's dropped a little bit too. We're at 1,004 millibars again. Sustained winds are still the same, and moving west at 20 miles an hour here. Is that a new cone? No, I think that's an old cone. Yeah, new cone has not came out. Okay. You know what? We might wait. I don't know. Y'all want me to wait for the new cone? I mean, I could if you want to. Just let me know. I mean, I guess we can look at some models while we wait if you want to. Y'all let me know. K-Jack says, hi, Andrew and friends. How are y'all doing? Been lurking. Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing good. I'm doing all right. Hopefully you're doing good yourself. It is good to see ya. Josh says, getting stronger. I mean, the pressure dropping is a sign that it could be picking up some strength. Absolutely. Still hasn't changed, though, in the current winds, though. It still is 45, so. Still is clocking in at 45 sustained here. We should do a poll. Nah, no need for that. We'll just chill here. It shouldn't be too much longer before that cone comes out here. So, whoa, what? Wait, when did they have this? Is this new? Okay, Hurricane Center are getting fancy. I tell you what. Can I click on anything? Yeah, dude. Hurricane Center's gotten a little fancy with an interactive map. I like that. But something still something not better than the normal cone. Here's the normal cone. So yeah, this is still the 5 p.m. AST. This is still has not been updated. Let's see. Can we get a little ice cream cone while we wait? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That sounds pretty good. You're going to make me want ice cream after this. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Well, let's look at models here for a minute. See, Ghost has said a storm named after me. I'm special. What is it, Erin? Is this your storm or is it another one? But anyways, let's go and hop back to models, I guess. We'll do spaghetti models for y'all. So this is the 0 UTC model run. Spaghetti model run. And as you can see, there is a pretty good amount of grouping over the next, like, 3 or so days. But you can see how we really start to kind of space out a bit, you know, once we kind of get to that 120-hour out or greater, you know, marker. But obviously, the hurricane models, they do suggest a more of a northwesterly turn at some point, which, you know, I really do need my folks in Bermuda to watch it. You know, it's not a for sure. It could go west. It could, you know, could change a bit. We'll have to see, but I do need Bermuda just at least to watch it. You know, no need for full-on preparation. Here's the intensity guidance here too. You know, this is looking at the overall strength, you know, between the hurricane models, the main hurricane models. You can see that, you know, basically just gradual strengthening. You know, there's really not many models showing a weakening at any point. We got the UKX2, which is being a little weird, but that's what you call an outcast model. We don't trust this guy. No, thank you. No, but yeah, you can see gradual development though. You know, median kind of has it becoming a Cat 1 around 84 hours out, which that's about 3.5 days, I think. Right? 3.5 days. Yeah. I think so. So we got a little bit of time though. But yeah, I mean, even there is a handful of models that does have this thing becoming in major hurricane status. And you got the HFAI just kind of going off the charts there. Obviously, that's another outcast model. These two, we got to go off the median point, which I wish they added a statistical average. That would be pretty nice if they could kind of average out those. But maybe I'll make something like that at some point. Anyways, folks, so you love the Cat 5. Yeah. Once again, that's an outcast, though. Can't really trust that one. Still haven't updated the cone here. Hopefully they'll do that soon because I need to get to bed. I'm getting a little tired. But yeah, no, we'll make sure to do an update whenever I get up, like sometime in the morning, maybe late morning, early afternoon. So we'll definitely be here for you guys. I'm gonna shoot for video though, like I mentioned. You know, the video stream. Here's some of the GFS ensembles too. You know, you can really see the spread on them, though. You know, some of the members just has this thing continually going west, which at this point it seems kind of unlikely. I think we are going to pull a little bit to the north at some point. I do. But you know, anything beyond that, it's just all over the place, really. I mean, you can see the big spread there. What's up, Chris? Saying, hey, Andrew, just tuned in. Are we waiting on the 11 p.m. advisory? We are, my friend. We are. Hopefully it'll be out soon. I don't know how long it usually takes. Hey, there it is. Oh. Hey. Okay, well, there it is, y'all. It's there. So, major hurricane now by late Saturday. Huh. So, on the previous cone, what we were talking about, y'all, it was showing the hurricane becoming a major hurricane. It was showing kind of early Sunday, I think it was. Now it's showing later Saturday, the thing becoming a Cat 3. Interesting. And it also looks like it'll become a hurricane on the morning of Friday. Friday. So there we go. Has this updated? It sure has. Let's see. Doesn't look like much strengthening. Yeah, it looks like the two H3s, category 3s, doesn't really pick up much strength. I beg to differ. I think it'll be different, though. I think it'll actually pick up more strength. But we'll see. My man Roaster. Did I say Roaster? Roadster coming in with a $20 super chat, man. Thank you, dude. Saying thank you for the update, Andrew. You are very welcome, my friend. Thank you. Sorry I called you Roaster. Oh, man. That's a good one. Roaster, thank you, dude, for the 20. That's really sweet of you, dude. Really helps out. Hey, you know what? Crushing the goal right at the end of the stream. I really appreciate that. And you know what, Roadster? You, my friend, helped me out a ton, helping keep everything rolling. I really appreciate it, dude. So big shout out goes to you, Roadster. If y'all could, please give Roadster a thank you in the chat. I really appreciate it. You know, Roadster, the support goes a long ways, and it helps keep us afloat. You know, we couldn't do it without y'all. So I really appreciate it, Roadster. Thanks for helping. You can call me anything, Drew. All right, anything. I'm sorry. Let's see. Justin says, even though the one model had a Cat 5 intensity outcast model, is it still a possibility? I mean, theoretically, yes, but it's still early to tell, honestly. Like I said, I do expect this thing to really pick up in strength, though. You know, once we get to these waters out here, just north of Puerto Rico. Yeah, because at this point, this is where we're going to have a lot of really warm waters out here still. Not much wind shear and still a lot of moisture and whatnot. So, let's see. But anyways, thank you all for giving Roadster a big thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, Roadster, once again, dude, thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. Helps me out a ton. Greatly appreciate it. But all right, everybody. Well, I'm going to do a final call for any questions before I fall asleep on the stream because I'm getting a little tired. So we're gonna roll off here in a few minutes. So any final questions? Going once, going twice. Tropical related. I don't have anything up for full on like severe weather, or whatnot. You know, the models and stuff. But you know, even then, severe weather is pretty quiet right now, thankfully. But if it's anything questions for tropical related, let me know, okay? But if not, we're gonna call it a stream here tonight. A little bit longer of an update, I tell you what, though. Typically we shoot for about an hour or so, but got a little bit longer of one. Tang says, Drew, I know it is way early, but do I think it's gonna turn north or go south? It's more likely to go north, I think, but I've seen the models flip-flopping a bit. You know, I've seen it kind of change. Like yesterday or like last night, it was showing further south and further west. Then we started trending further north in the last few updates. Wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing that flip-flopping around for the next few days. But, I mean, the way that the models have been talking over the last few days, a lot of them do suggest that that northerly movement. It depends on how far north, though, but I do think, yes, I do think it could definitely, or very possibly, pull north. And the reason is because of that Bermuda high that we have in place here, kind of weakening and moving eastward, which kind of opens up the alleyway for the storm to, you know, kind of pull up a little bit to the north, so. But models aren't modeling right now. I mean, at least in the extended range. That's why I'm saying, you know, the best time to look at the models is kind of in this time frame. Where the cone has it now is the best, the best thing to look at. So we'll see what happens, y'all. We'll keep you guys updated. All right, folks. Well, I'm going to roll off here. You guys have a wonderful rest of your night. Y'all get some sleep. Once again, try not to worry about the system. It's just too early to tell. So we'll be here for you guys. Cole says in other news, first time in several months, there isn't an active tornado or thunderstorm watch/warning in the economy. That's good. I'm thankful to see that things are calming down, severe weather-wise. It would be better. Knock on wood. I'm going to say it. Before I say it, I'm going to knock on wood here. At least it's not both severe weather and tropics at the same time. I probably just jinxed us, but, Anyways, good night, Tang. Thanks for joining. Sonia says, thank you, Andrew. Yeah, of course, no problem. Roadster says, take care, Andrew. Chat, you too, my friend. Once again, thank you for the support, dude. I appreciate it. You rock, my friends. By the way, if y'all want to join our Discord is in the description. If y'all want to join it and hang out with us after stream hours. So, it's there if you want to. I think it's there anyways. I should probably make sure. Well, you guys can just look at Nightbot. Nightbot has it as well. So, all right, everybody. I'm heading off for real now. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your night. We'll see y'all later on. Y'all take care. We'll catch you guys in the morning update. Morning or early afternoon. So, hope to see you guys there. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining. See y'all in the next one. Peace out, my friends.